What up, fight fans? It is Saturday night, October 31st. Happy Halloween, everybody. It is time for the Iman Report as we recap UFC Fight Night 181, Hall versus Silva. In the main event tonight, Uriah Hall beats Anderson Silva in the fourth round via TKO. In the first two rounds, Anderson Silva looked like the vintage Silva. Then he started to fade towards the second round, and then third round, he was just starting to run out of gas. He had a little bit of a second win in the third round, and then Hall just finally got the better of him in round three, and it was just downhill from there. But for Silva, it's retirement. Anderson Silva announces his retirement after the fight, and this tonight was Anderson Silva's night. I would have liked to see Anderson Silva retire a winner. Just wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. Silva's legs have just not been the same since losing the championship to Chris Weidman. Silva, that's where really the downfall of Silva started, was after losing the championship to Chris Weidman. You take a look at Silva's record. But he was just such a dominant middleweight champion for such a long time. He won the belt against Rich Franklin in 2006 and defended the belt all the way to for 7 years. Anderson Silva was a very dominant fighter for 7 years between 2006 and 2013. And then 2013, he lost twice to Chris Weidman. No contest to Nick Diaz. And then lost to Michael Bisping. A fight which, debatably, Silva might have won was a fight. Then he loses to Daniel Cormier at the light heavyweight belt. And really his only win was against Derek Brunson back in 2017. Other than that, he was 1-7 with one no contest. And, it was TKO'd. And Silva's just was not the same fighter. But now I think Father Time has finally caught up to Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva will go down in the Hall of Fame as one of the greatest middleweights of all time. And Anderson Silva deserves a nice deserved retirement. Enjoy your retirement, Anderson Silva. You deserve it. And you know what? Maybe the next future Hall of Famer might be Israel Adesanya, who is looking like a guy who's going to be a champ in 2021. It is rumored that Israel Adesanya and Jan Blachowicz could be fighting in March, so for Blachowicz' 205 belt, so Adesanya could easily be a champ in 2021 if all things work out with the logistics of that fight. I'm really excited to see Blachowicz versus Adesanya. That could be a really good fight, and then you could see John Bones Jones fight Adesanya should he beat Blachowicz. But as for Uriah Hall, this was probably his best win of his career. This might be the closest Uriah Hall might ever get to a title fight moment. Uriah Hall, a top 10 fighter, but he is a gatekeeper. Hall's nothing more than a gatekeeper at middleweight. I don't think Uriah Hall's ever going to fight for a title. To be honest, he's lost to Robert Whittaker. He's lost to Derek Brunson. He's lost to Paulo Costa. And Silva might be his best win in his UFC career. But that also could be asterisked by the fact that Silva is 45. I don't ever see Uriah Hall fighting for a title, but in the same breath, I think he is a top 10 fighter. He is a solid gatekeeper at middleweight. So that's where Uriah Hall is. And this win, he's ranked number 10. I suppose you can give him Chris Weidman, another former champion. I suppose you can go that route. But I think one that could make a bit more sense could be Uriah Hall going up against the winner of Brandon Allen and Ian Heinisch. The winner of that fight could be on the brink of being a top 10 fighter. I think that should be the next fight for Uriah Hall. I will give him the winner of Heinisch and Allen. In the co-main event, we might have a contender at 145. Bryce Mitchell beats Andre Fili via unanimous decision. Fili, no slouch at featherweight. He's a good fighter, but not a great fighter. Fili just can't seem to be one of those fighters that can't get over the hump. Mitchell is really starting to look like a bright prospect in the 145 division. I think Mitchell's fight should be against another ranked opponent. I think he should fight a fighter that a lot of fighters are avoiding. Ryan Hall. I think Ryan Hall versus Bryce Mitchell could be a very good, underrated matchup on a fight night card or on the undercard of a pay-per-view. Book it. As for Fili, let's see. Fili 1 and 2 in his last 3 fights. He's lost to 2 good prospects in Sodiq Yusuff and Bryce Mitchell. So Fili's ceiling is like right outside the top 15. What should be next for Andre Fili? Let's see where he is ranked according to Tapology, ranked right outside the top 15. Maybe Kron Gracie could be a guy that fits the bill next for Andre Fili. In the heavyweight bout, Greg Hardy defeats Maurice Green via TKO. Hardy, now, I will never be a Greg Hardy fan. I don't like the fact he is a wife beater. But he is actually becoming a better fighter in the heavyweight division. He's actually developed a little bit of a ground game. His weakness as of right now is he gets gassed too easily. So as of right now, in the UFC, he is 4-2-1. Not too shabby. I think though it's time for Greg Hardy to get another step up in competition. He failed against Alexander Volkov. I think Volkov was a little more than he could handle. But I do think Greg Hardy is ready for a name. And I think that name could be the guy who enjoys a shoey or two in Tai Tuivasa. Tuivasa versus Hardy would be a very exciting and entertaining fight at heavyweight. And I think we could find out a lot about Greg Hardy fighting a fighter like Tai Tuivasa, who's been there and done that. As for Maurice Green, Maurice Green is 3-3. He is 3-3 in the heavyweight division. He is 1-3 in his last 4 fights. Granted, two of those 3 losses were to ranked competition. So Green is probably a low-end gatekeeper at best. According to Tapology, he is ranked 25. Maybe the loser of Romanov and Rogerio de Lima makes a lot of sense for Maurice Green. That is a bit of a step down in competition. In the fight before that, Kevin Holland submits Charlie Ontiveros via submission via neck injury. Kevin Holland just can't catch a break with better opponents. He gets booked against better opponents, but then they get hurt. Then, unfortunately, Holland gets to fight debutantes. It's time for Holland to get a name, not a can. Holland is getting near the top 15. There needs to be we need a fighter that can actually stay healthy this time against Kevin Holland. A fighter that will actually give Holland a challenge. Holland is on a 4-fight winning streak. And his only 2 losses were to Thiago Santos and Brandon Allen in the UFC. Not exactly slouches. Kevin Holland is on the edges of the top 15. I think Kevin Holland should fight the winner of Brad Tavares and Shoeface. Should be what's next for Kevin Holland. That will likely give Kevin Holland a ranked opponent next. Kevin Holland could have a number by his name on Monday. As for Ontiveros, a debutant should be next. Thiago Moises beats Bobby Green via unanimous decision to kick off the main card. Thiago Moises getting wins, now has 2 wins in a row. He is 3-2 in the UFC. His losses are to Ismagulov and Dariush. He's got wins over Michael Johnson and Bobby Green. Bobby Green was probably the best win for Thiago Moises in his UFC career. This win could likely result in Thiago Moises getting a jump in competition. What should be next for Moises? See where Tapology has Thiago Moises ranked. Moises ranked number 40 according to Tapology. I think Ottoman Bulldozer Azatar could be a good test for Thiago Moises. As for Bobby Green Bobby Green wanted to go 4-0. Unfortunately, he came up a bit short. I'm going 4-0 in 2020. But this is not the end of the world for Bobby Green. He will bounce back after maybe a little bit of time off. I say a fight with Drakkar Klose should be next for Bobby Green. Now on to the prelim card. The top fight of the prelim card. Alexander Hernandez KOs Chris Grutzenmacher via knockout. Alexander Hernandez, a fighter who is on the periphery of the top 15. I don't know if he's a great fighter in the top 15 or not, but he does have a ceiling. I think it's like right at on the edges of top 15. I think what should be next for Alexander Hernandez might be Francisco Trinaldo. Trinaldo's one that is like always right outside the rank, is always another one who's close but not quite good enough to get in the rankings. The winner of these two fighters could be guaranteed a top 15 ranking. As for Chris Grutzenmacher, where is he ranked? Chris Grutzenmacher ranked 97 in the UFC, 1-3 in the UFC, so his only win is against Joe Lozon. So he's likely going to fight a fighter that is somewhere who's in danger of being cut. So Grutzenmacher likely in jeopardy in his next fight coming up. Fight before that at bantamweight, Adrian Yanez beats Victor Rodriguez via head kick in the first round at 246. What is next for Yanez? Yanez ranked number 81 according to Tapology. And this is Yanez's first win in the UFC. Trying to be the next Contender Series hopeful at 135. Probably the winner of De Freitas and Tony Gravely is what should be next for Yanez. As for Victor Rodriguez, probably a debutant is what's likely next. In the fight before that, Sean Strickland beats Jack Marshman via unanimous decision. Marshman could also manage to miss weight by 2.5 pounds. Marshman now 1-4 in his last fights. On top of that, Marshman has missed weight in 2 of his last 4 fights. Strickland returning to middleweight at 185, victorious. What is next for Sean Strickland? Ranked 83 for middleweight. Probably the winner of Zdalkas and Stoltzfus should be next for Strickland. As for Marshman, as I said, 1-4 and missing weight 2 times in your last 3 fights. If he gets another opportunity, if he does not get cut, 1-4 could get him cut, and that's a real possibility. If he's not cut, his next fight should be at 205. Put him against any can at 205. Fight before that, Jason Witt beats Cole Williams via submission. And also in this fight, Cole Williams misses weight by 2.5 pounds. No, he didn't miss weight. He missed weight badly. 4.5 pounds. So yeah, Williams really missed weight hard on this fight. But still, Witt the victor, despite his opponent missing the fight, missing weight by 4.5 pounds. Ranked 133. I suppose you can put him up against Eric Koch next. That's what we'll go with. Eric Koch is next for Jason Witt. Cole Williams, 0-2. Adios. Cut him. Missing weight by 4.5 pounds. Yeah. 0-2, and you miss weight by 4.5 pounds. Adios, you're cut. You're likely getting cut after tonight. Dustin Jacoby beats Justin Ledet via TKO in the first round. Jacoby ranked 64. And this is his first win in the UFC. Congratulations to Dustin Jacoby. And it's starting to look like these Ultimate Fighters are also being brought in to cull the herd of the bad fighters. Which is where I'm kind of hinting where Justin Ledet is heading in a minute. Maybe the winner of Roman Delids and John Allen is what should be next for... Yeah, I'll go with that. That's what should be next for Dustin Jacoby. As for Justin Ledet, that's four losses in a row. You're not entertaining. You've been KO'd twice. You've lost to... You've not... You're a boring fighter, Justin Ledet. You're cut. Bye-bye. You're fired, Justin Ledet. Yes, Justin Ledet should be cut after tonight. And the first fight of the night, Miles Johns beats Kevin Natividad via KO in the third round. Miles Johns now 2-1 in the UFC, wins over Cole Smith and Kevin Natividad, and Mario Bautista was his only loss thus far, ranked 42 according to Tapology. The winner of Smolka and Quinones makes a lot of sense for Johns. As for what is next for Kevin Natividad, Natividad 0-1, you'll get a debutante next. That will conclude it for tonight's fight card. I wish Anderson Silva a very happy retirement. Next week, it is on to UFC Santos versus Teixeira, where originally I would think this winner would have probably been up for the next title shot. That has kind of now been muddied by the possibility of Israel Adesanya coming up to 205 to fight Jan Blachowicz, and that could sell a lot more pay-per-views. But it still should be a very entertaining card. This one should be on ESPN2. You've got Tanner Boser against Andrei Arlovsky in this one. You've got Ian Heinisch against Brandon Allen. So there are some intriguing fights coming up in this card. But we're kind of going to wrap it up for tonight. Everybody have a safe Halloween. Don't go trick-or-treating tonight. Trunk or treat if you're going to go get candy. Do it safely. Wear a mask. Be safe. Stay 6 feet apart. Be safe. We love you. And hopefully you guys will be back tomorrow. We will be back on the air tomorrow night to recap NFL Week 7. It's the NFL Week 8. So everybody stay awesome. Adios.